To take part in a series of historic car races at Amaroo in Sydney next weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, the champ himself, Stirling Moss. It's very nice to see you again. You wouldn't remember, but you were one of my first interviews ever on television a long, long time ago.
Oh, you still look the same.
And so do you, Stirling. You look very well.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
So, Amaroo brings you here. Why particularly Amaroo? Why did you come here?
Well, because at Amaroo Park this weekend they've got a historic racing, and I'm a historic person, and the cars we're driving are historics, like this Jag. Cars from 1927, the oldest is, up until 1969, the youngest. And 230 entries, and I'm going out in a Jag, not like this, a much racier one than that, a C-type Jag, to give a demonstration, and also in the Lotus, and going as fast as I can without frightening myself, actually.
Stirling, the car we have there, the Jag that you have referred to and you drove in with, what model is that? How old is that?
That's a 150. That's, I don't know, in the 50s. It's beautiful condition. I wish people at home could see how beautiful that car is. I mean, it's not actually my car.
Do you miss the mainstream of motorcar racing?
I miss what I remember of it, yes, because I had a lot of fun. It gives you the opportunity to travel and meet people and the exhilaration of the sport. You know, I mean, when you're racing a motor car and you're right on the limit, the feeling, the exhilaration you get when you're going around trying to push the limit as far as you can, and at the same time racing against other people. And if ever you can go into a corner and look in the mirror, see a guy's there and come out even half a car length ahead, you feel great confidence and you feel an achievement, you know.
We saw you there getting a lot of adulation, but of course there wasn't as much money back in those years as there is today.
No, when I retired in 1962, I had a big crash, and I had to retire, unfortunately. And then they heard I got out, and they said, right, Moss is out, we'll pay the money. I mean, now the money the guys get is enormous. I mean, it's almost film star money.
Are the cars today safer?
Well, it's never safe. If you take a car, any car, and you drive it beyond the limit, which is what you're asked to do in racing, it's not safe. I mean, you're doing a stupid thing, really. And but I would say that structurally they're safer, yes, and that the road holding is far better, you know, but you're going much quicker. So if you go off, you're going faster.
Were you ever frightened? Is there a threshold of fear in motorcar racing?
When you get older, there is. So I'm frightened now. No, I would say when I was racing, no, I didn't reckon to get frightened. I did sometimes, because you might touch oil or something when the back would break away, and I'd go very near trouble. If I had an accident, and I had quite a few accidents, I had the steering shear once at about 160 on a banking, and that was frightening because there was nothing I could do. I mean, there was absolutely nothing I could do. The steering had broken, and that was it. But normally, when there's an accident, you're going to have an accident, you see something coming, and you try and avoid it. You try and go in backwards, so you can't see the shunt. And also, of course, you take the impact far better through the back of your body than the front. But in principle, I wouldn't normally reckon to drive up to the point of fear, no.
I forget how you got into it. What was the reason for you getting into motorcar racing?
I got into racing because I was brought up with cars. My father was a racing driver, as an amateur. He was a dentist, actually. And I was brought up with fast cars, and I liked the exhilaration of speed. And it wasn't obviously safe to you know, drive fast on the roads. And so I went into motor racing when I was, 17, and my father gave me 2 years to make good. And luckily I did well enough that I was turned professional when I was 18. And then I went on until I had this big crash in 1962, when I had to get out and start working for a living.
Well, whose decision was it, Stirling, to get out? Did you have to get out because of doctors, or did you decide yourself?
Well, I had the crash, and I was unconscious for a month and paralysed for 6 months. And then I sort of sorted that lot out, and then after about a year, I had a lot of pressure from the press, sort of, are you going to race, you know, what's going to happen? And I went back and tried myself out. And in the test, I could see my speeds were fast enough, but I could see that I wasn't as safe as I had been. In other words, my concentration had gone. And I'd be going down the straight, you know, and suddenly realised, my God, I should be braking, you know, because my concentration wasn't that good. And I thought, well, you know, if I don't give it up, I'm going to, you know, kill myself.
You're unconscious for 2 months and paralysed for 6 months?
I was unconscious for a month, paralysed for 6 months on one side.
Did you go through any personality change?
Well, no, not personality change as much as I got... the temperature of my body was funny. In other words, I'd have one hot hand and one cold hand. So if you know, out with a girlfriend, you could give her the hot or cold, depending on what you wanted to follow it up with. No,
what would you like tonight, love, the hot or the cold?
Well, you know, there are all sorts of things like that. I mean, I really can remember things like that happening. And yes, and my concentration was terrible. I'd start giving you an anecdote, and by the time I got through it, I couldn't think what the hell I was telling you it for. Things like that, you know.
What about today? Does that happen?
Vague still, yes. You know. Does it happen still? No. I think it took me about 5 years to regain my concentration. And now I do race a little bit just for fun. I mean, like, for instance, at Amaru on, the weekend, but not obviously in the same way that I did professionally. I mean, when you are racing, as the Formula One drivers do, you've got tremendous pressure, and you've got to drive as fast as you can. And those days, I used to love driving fast. Now,
how do you spend your time now?
Working for a living, actually. I mean, I'm coming out here, this is fun. But most of the time, I do some writing, and I have, do a bit of journalism, and I have a property company, and I do anything they'll pay me for, really. You know, anywhere.
It's good to see you back in Australia, because this was the scene of a number of triumphs for you, and you toured here quite a lot, didn't you?
I've had a fabulous... I've really enjoyed it. I was first here in '56. We had a great race, actually, here in Albert Park, and then I found out how great it... Yeah, and I found out how much I liked it, and I've come back whenever I can get somebody else to pay the trip, really.
Well, that's next weekend you have the opportunity of seeing Stirling in action. He's at the tribute to Jaguar with historic car racing at Amaru Park, Sydney. The car in the studio, by the way, was courtesy of Henley Motors, Camberwell, Victoria. Sterling, lovely seeing you again.
Thanks a lot.
Stirling Moss. We'll take this break, and then we've got a very interesting group for you to meet. I think you'll love them. See you soon.
They're pacers again, and at the wheel of one of them will be that great driver, Stirling Moss. Malcolm Weatherup has this preview.
For the enthusiast and the merely interested alike, it's an awe-inspiring display of the bygone glory years of motor racing, before cars got faster and became 250-kilometre-an-hour advertising hoardings. Not that these sleek little numbers are exactly slow, they can still show a nimble set of steps around Amaru. And one of the indelible memories of this sport was making the rounds of the circuit today. Stirling Moss in the familiar crash helmet and goggles behind the wheel of a powerful C-Class Jaguar, all 100 grand's worth of it. Doesn't it bring back memories? On Sunday, 10 Jaguars, including this classic pairing, will joust, gently no doubt, around the circuit. Other classes will have a full program of events in which to be a bit more fair dinkum. After his first look at Amaru, Stirling declared the circuit, would you believe, as being cute. But what has really impressed him are the number and condition of our classic cars here in Australia.
Oh, absolutely astounded. I mean, you have many, many more cars like Coopers and so on than we do in England. I mean, I've been looking for a Cooper, and they hardly exist. And the cars, thank goodness, the cars you've got appear to be in extremely good condition. I mean, that C-Type Jag is certainly cosmetically far better than I've ever seen, you know, or ever driven. I mean, it's beautifully done. And it is nice to see that the old cars are looked after and cherished.
So this weekend you can take the short trip to Amaru for the long trip back in time.
Those were the days, my friend, we thought they'd never end. We'd sing and dance forever and a day.
Yeah, nice cars. Tim still drives one of those. Racing in Sydney to...